And I always say the biggest trip point for premature aging is probably the best piece of advice anyone could ever have, definitely.
I think so too. I know that's risky saying that to a lot of people.
You are only as young as you, or old as you feel. You're as young as you feel, old as you feel. And I think like totally losing that stigma about, oh, I can't do this because I'm too old. Who says? Who cares? Hey, I'm Beck, dermal therapist, makeup artist, and host of Your Glow Code, the podcast where we talk all things skin, health, confidence, and living your glowiest life. Hit that subscribe button and give us a like and leave us a comment below. It helps more than you know. And now for today's episode. Today we're going to be kicking off with the wonderful Kathy Pedersen of Chi Beauty. She was actually in season 1 and one of our most popular episodes. So if you'd like to get a basic understanding of Chi Beauty, we'd suggest you go back and listen to that one. However, we will recap a few things and we're going to take it a little bit deeper today. So welcome back, Kathy. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Beck. Really nice to see you again. I didn't know that it was such a popular podcast. I'm really pleased to hear that for you. That's great.
I'm pleased as well. And we had listeners from all over the world, and particularly the US, with some of your, I suppose, practitioners and clients as well. So it's been really, really great.
Fabulous.
So I would like to recap a little bit on what inspired you to create Chi Beauty and how it works a little bit. And then I want to delve into a little bit of the psychology of aging and how Chi Beauty works within that and the perception of the way things are going with the world and our perception of all of that. So if you could just give us a quick whistle-stop tour on what inspired you to develop Chi Beauty and its unique approach to skincare and rejuvenation.
Right. So I guess I was thinking about this the other day again, because I'm asked the question quite frequently, why, how did it even start?
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally just an idea, because I was 45 actually when I thought of it. So
wow,
it wasn't like, I was in my 30s and I decided to start a business. It wasn't about starting a business at all for me. The first thing that I actually was through some meditations, if I'd be completely honest. When I was meditating, I saw the brand Chi Beauty during one of my meditations, and I thought, what is that? And I started to think, it was really weird, but I do meditate quite a bit.
That's wonderful.
Very often, actually. I'm into that and have been forever. So, it's just to do with our background with natural therapies and how we act and kind of live on this planet. It's very much holistically driven, I guess, and awareness of other things. So I had been thinking about putting acupuncture into a box at that time. And then I had the meditation where it came up with the name Chi Beauty. So I had to call it Chi Beauty. I went to a marketing company and said, I want to register the product. And they said, well, we advise you first off not to call it Chi Beauty.
Okay.
Because nobody can pronounce it and nobody knows what it is. Because remember, this is 2006.
Right, of course.
So really, people weren't walking around talking about chi and beauty and skin in any terms of traditional Chinese medicine. So I was really sitting on my lone rock in that, little realm. And I said to him, well, I'm not going to change the name. I'm going to keep it. So they registered Chi Beauty and just said, just so long as, you know that we have not advised that you do this. This is not our good business advice for you. Anyway, I just ignored that, didn't worry about it. At the time I thought, and I said to them, I don't care if people can't say it, if they can't pronounce it, if they don't know what it is. I just want them to recognize the brand and to question what chi has to do with skin. And I guess I achieved that goal. That was the question that was most often asked was, what does chi have to do with skin? Which kind of answers your question, as in where did it come from? Originally from acupuncture. I was having facial rejuvenation acupuncture. I love it. I love acupuncture. I've always been drawn to it because it's always worked amazingly well for me. And because of that, it was natural for me to go into that realm and have a natural progression with how can I put it into a box? Because remember, the Chi Beauty Home Kit was the first product. It wasn't a facial treatment. I think I told you that last time, that it was kind of created the other way around.
Yep.
And, that's how it started. And I worked then mainly with scarring, skin conditions like dermatitis and even Bell's palsy and things to do with paralysis and lots of conditions that were, I guess, very much related to our industry, natural therapies, because they were the people that come into our clinic, people that had autoimmune diseases and other conditions that have a lot to do with inflammation, which then, of course, drives premature aging. So that's how it started. That's where it started. It was an idea of putting facial acupuncture into a box and then taking it from there, from that point, into clinical treatments that ended up. Then I taught those outside the acupuncture practitioner industry into aesthetics, and so here we are.
So essentially, you've pioneered the incorporation of quantum energy and microtechnology into skincare. Could you then explain how these elements provide benefits to skin health, and do they have any emotional benefits being such a holistic treatment?
Okay, yeah, definitely 100% psychological. So emotional elements is really quite big with the home kit and with all of the clinical treatments as well. So the first point that we use in the facial treatment is the yin tang point, which is for deep relaxation and meditation. So in terms of relaxation and the mind benefit, we are always working with the brain when we're working with any static magnetic fields. Because remember, humans have evolved on the planet Earth that's surrounded by static magnetic fields. So they're not dangerous for us. That they do affect, us psychologically, I believe. And it's been proven, actually, there's been lots of abstracts and studies about even Alzheimer's and depression and things like that, and static magnetic fields. So it's quite valid to talk about that, I think. The emotional aspects, I think, are huge. They do change somebody's perception of self. And you've experienced the Chi Beauty treatment, I believe. So you would have realised that there is a difference in the way you feel after the treatment. So that's something that everybody mentions after they feel calmer. They feel happier with themselves, which is the driving force really behind the treatment, is self-acceptance, self-realisation, all of those things to do with self. As for the physical effects, they are 100% there. We actually guarantee a visible difference after even just one treatment. The skin, the tissues, the body responds to static magnetic fields that are built a certain way on the skin tissues with a technology that's been constructed for levitation, which is what we've done with the Chi Beauty technology. So I say to people that actually inquire and ask about the treatments, go online, go on Instagram or go anywhere and have a look at all of the practitioners that have trained. Look at their before and after results. You don't have to look at the mothership. You don't have to look at our company results. Look at everyone else's and you'll see what we're talking about. There's consistency with results. Yeah.
Yes, there certainly is. And I know I saw an immediate result and it lasted for days. And I took the home kit and used that. And I always see a difference whenever I use the home kit, 100%. Definitely. So there's 3 levels of repair. Could you tell us a little bit about what we see, what we feel, and what we get from those 3 levels?
Yeah, great. So, of course, it's like somebody has soothed the nervous system when you have the treatment. You feel better about everything, better about yourself. You are clearer, your thinking is clearer, and it's higher. Like when I say higher, I mean that the vibration of that person usually is a little bit higher after the treatment, in that they don't feel so weighted by the world and the lifestyle aspects and just how the planet is these days. So it does take a lot of pressure off people. So that one aspect is really important, because stress is the driver of skin conditions, big time. So it really is important when it comes down to that. The second thing that we talk about are the physical differences, obviously. But the third thing that we talk about is the effects on the cells. So from a cellular point of view, if you're charging the cells consistently, now consistently can be with the home kit, or it can be somebody who simply has a Chi Beauty treatment once a month or every 6 weeks, it actually assists a healthier life cycle of the cells. So the ions are always going to be regulated when you give somebody a treatment. That's really important, because it's the ability of the cell to self-regulate, to self-repair and self-maintain is actually the definition of cellular health throughout somebody's lifetime. As we age, they come a little bit glitchy. Cells break down a bit, they lose their ions, and they just become a little bit glitchy. This affects the function of the skin. If you can then provide a mechanism, and this is like a magneto mechanism, it's a transduction mechanism that is going to affect the mitochondria of the cell and the oxygenation of the cell. and arrange those ions properly within the cell, you're working within the extracellular matrix, of course. This means that they're going to be energized, they're going to be more efficient, they can work, they can self-regulate, self-maintain. That means that they're healthier. And it's done holistically without any trauma or any injury to the cells.
That's incredible. And I love that because you get that immediate result. There's no downtime, and that's true holistic regenerative healing. It's absolutely, it's beautiful. I really love that. And it heals in that extracellular matrix. It's such a beautiful thing because people don't fully, I don't think, understand how important that is, how much stress affects us, how our mitochondria, our energy cells, how they all slow down, and then that has the effect. It's the way we see aging and what's actually happening could be two totally different things, really.
I know, that's the thing, isn't it? We have been conditioned to see aging in a completely different light, whereas if you look at it through, the lens of a quantum aspect, you're always going to be talking about how you feel as you age. So it's the emotions that come in with aging, how you feel with yourself. Are you comfortable with yourself? It's all of that self-realisation, looking after self, all of those things. We can't look after other people if we don't look after ourselves. We're not happy with other people if we're not happy with ourselves. So it all just flows that way. So if you don't have flow and motion through your life, if you become stagnant, that's kind of the worst thing you can do for aging.
I completely agree. Absolutely. It is what I always say is somebody can walk into a room and they may not be the most conventionally beautiful or, Instagram model, but the way they carry themselves, you can't take your eyes off of them. It's that internal belief of themselves that comes through. And I think as we age, holding on to that and really defining who we are and believing in ourselves is so vital to aging well and gracefully and your best. It doesn't have to be ageless or not aging. It's just aging well.
Oh, totally agree. I mean, what is wrong with aging? I mean, isn't it
absolutely
nothing to be able to age and get older? It means that you're still here. So
exactly,
yes, it's not exactly we're pushing against. It's something that we should be embracing, and I actually do, because there's a certain confidence, or there is a certain learning throughout the stages of life that come through when you get to a certain age, and you're able to really utilize those things and make better decisions. You're able to expand, and I always say the biggest trip point for premature aging is people who start to contract as they get a bit older. They stop doing things that they like to do because they think that they're past it. They stop wearing things that they want to wear because they think that they're past it and they shouldn't show an area of skin. Or let's just get rid of all of that. Let's just leave all of that behind. Let's just redefine what it means and just do whatever you feel like doing. And I know that's risky saying that to a lot of people, but your mojo is there for you to use your lifetime. It doesn't mean you need to reduce what you're doing. Stop doing things. I say expand as you get older, try something new, invent something, or at least play around with the invention of something, write something, read something that you wouldn't normally read. Expansion of the mind will 100% be reflected in the skin.
Completely. You are only as young as you, or old as you feel. You're as young as you feel, old as you feel. And I think totally losing that stigma about, I can't do this because I'm too old. Who says? Who cares? And especially these days, when you look at what 50 used to look like, 40 years ago compared to now, it almost does feel ageless. There is no rules about what you can and can't be doing. And like you said yourself, you had this business idea at 45. My dad has reinvented his career, and my mum at, later into life. There is no limit. There is no rules that says that. It is completely in your mind, and that expansion. Keep learning, keep trying, keep going. I really love that. I think that's really quite incredible.
Yes, it is the only limitations that we really do place on ourselves. It's keeping the mind space free and always looking ahead and always keep moving. My mother's 91. And every now and again, I said to her, what would be your advice today, Mum, for aging? Because she's always saying something a little bit different. But the most consistent is always keep moving. Always keep moving. It doesn't matter on the direction, just keep moving.
And I would say that's both physically and mentally, on psychologically, on every single level. I really love that. That's probably the best piece of advice anyone could ever have, definitely.
I think so too.
So how would you say then, with this perception of aging, it has that, especially with the general public, how do you think this has influenced skincare decisions and treatments that people are having and the way that they are treating themselves and their skin these days?
That's a really good question because, of course, a lot of that is dictated by social media these days.
Yes, unfortunately, yeah, it really is.
Yeah, people believe that at a certain age they should look a certain way. So I think it's important to make decisions based on what do you people that get to, say, start in your 40s, because you kind of know a lot when you reach the age of 40. You know what works for you, you know what you do like, and you know what you don't like. Generally speaking, at the age of 40, you kind of have a handle on what suits you, what doesn't, the type of people you'd like to be around, people that you need to have a wider berth. You get to know the things that you like to do on a daily basis and things that you really only want to do a couple of times in your lifetime. And all of those things affect our decisions moving forward always. And we're supposed to do that. We're humans. We're supposed to draw on past experiences to make better decisions as we age. But I think the biggest question is, what do I want? Who do I want to be when I'm 60 or when I'm 70? So I say to people, always work 10 years ahead of where you are. So if you're 40, think about how you would like to be or what you would like to be important in your life at age 50. To do that, you need to know what's important in your life at age 40 and who you are and what you like and what you don't like. If you need to sit down, if you're really busy and you don't think of that from day to day, and you need to sit down with a pen and paper and just write it down so that you actually define who you are and what's important to you, that will then dictate your decisions along the way. That's when you can look at a photo, before and after a photo of somebody who's had a lot of cosmetic work done, and you see their before photo, they looked like somebody, and their after photo looks like somebody else, because there's a lot of extremes when we come to that point. If you at age 40 did want to look like somebody else when you were 50, then you've achieved your goal. That's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you've always not liked something about yourself and you want to change it, do it. Do it. If it's good for you, do it. If there's, though, a back talk about that, a self-talk that is unhealthy and it's for other reasons and other people's perception of you and what other people think you should do, you never would have gone with that as your decision-making objective. Always go with decision-making for yourself and what you really want for yourself. So that helps you to make decisions about how much you want to do for your skin, how much you want to change the way you look, how much you want to change your fitness. If you're relatively happy with your level of fitness at 40, you may not be inspired to change your fitness level by the age of 50, whereas somebody else who sits at a desk all day, unavoidable, can't do anything about it. They feel a little bit trapped in their lifestyle. If that's their goal at age 50, they can take 10 years to get there before they consider themselves to be quite fit and healthy in their skin. So it applies for mind and body as much as it does with skin. This is a whole story for a human. And if as humans we don't know who we are at the beginning, we're never going to know who we are at the end if we don't think about it from time to time.
Yeah, I really love that too, especially because, like, obviously we're talking about skin, but it is a whole, and it is your body, it is your fitness, it is your mind, and your skin is just a reflection of everything that is going on in there physically and mentally as well. And I think that's, yeah, it doesn't matter if it takes you 10 years to get there or 5 years. I love that, having the end goal in mind of where you want to be there so you can take the actionable steps. And so it can just be one step a day. It doesn't have to be all of it in once. You don't have to achieve the world in one day or 1 week. You can take the time, but it is definitely just little tiny steps. And I love that, knowing where you want to go.
Where you want to be, who you want to be in 10 years' time. Just if you can define that to yourself, even if it's a rough idea, that would be great, instead of encumbering yourself with things that, because we know that everything affects the way we look. how we live, what we drink, what we eat, how we think, everything that we do in a day-to-day life, that's something that actually depresses a lot of people because they feel like they're trapped. They're trapped in this body that is susceptible to premature aging based on lifestyle decisions that they want to make and have a good time. Just find that little balance in between, because like, I know we say balance, and balance is really hard to achieve. I get it. But if you can just balance a bit of the naughty with the nice, you'll be fine. You know, you age gracefully, nothing wrong with aging well. That's great. That's what we want. And when we say anti-aging, it's not because we're against aging. It's because we are basically wanting to do the best that we can to maintain. And I'm not talking about the way we look. I'm talking about the way we feel in our life. That's more important than anything. And we know that now, that is everything. Because how we feel about ourselves then will affect our children, will affect loved ones, will affect our partners, just will affect us, our lives, anyone that we come into contact with. And that's the essence of life, really. It's all about that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is so true. It is everything. And the more, if you are feeling bad and you're bringing that into your life, into your children, your husband and your work, it becomes like that vicious circle and you get more and more trapped in that. So it is those little actionable steps to go, how can I feel better about who I am, which in turn then gives you the inner glow that some people just, you can't take their eyes off of them.
Exactly.
It's quite incredible.
Well, it's energy, isn't it?
100%. 100%. So then, considering that aging could be a form of energy loss, how does Chi Beauty then work to counteract this within the facials and the system?
Well, it's an energy modality. So when you're working with quantum physics, we're working with the micromagnets that have a static magnetic field of their own that then is going to be combined with or connected to any other micromagnet on the skin. Because cells respond within seconds to the energy of the micromagnets, and it affects the psychology of the person as well. So it has a lot to do with that. And because of the change in the way the cells communicate, that means that the energy of the cell is built to be at a higher level. So it means that through the life cycle of a cell, and the cells have the life cycle of cells depend on the age. So somebody that's quite aged could have a life cycle of 6 weeks. That could be their cellular life cycle. It could be 4 weeks for somebody else, and not even 4 weeks. Sometimes, usually it's a bit over for people living on the planet Earth today because of all of the environmental factors that are always affecting us as humans. So because of that, the energy of the cell is rebuilt. So that means that if they're moving faster, behaving faster, they are mimicking the behavior of younger, more energetic cells, which means that each time that you go through the life cycle of the cells and the mitochondria is working beautifully, and then you have the production of new cells, it's always in the memory of the cells that have left the body. So that means that they are at a higher regenerative state. That is accumulation of energy for anti-aging. So that's how it works so beautifully with the home kit, because it's used frequently. It's like you're always teasing the cells. You're putting energy into the mitochondria, and you're resuscitating the mitochondria every time you use static magnetic fields. So you just get this healthier glow, and you see it every single day when you're using the home kit. Even if you just use it 3 times a week, your skin will be glowing every day, not just on those 3 times a week. And the clinical treatment, it's like a burst of cellular energy because it's using several hundred, if not over 1,000 micromagnets over specific acupuncture points that are a portal into the meridians that are embedded through the extracellular matrix.
That's amazing.
So as you spear meridians, what else are you doing them? Well, where are the meridians? Where they are always in the vicinity of the capillaries, so blood, movement of blood vessels, lymphatics, and also around nerves. So you're affecting basically all of the secretions in the human body when you have, when you're talking about the flow of chi. Anything that's wet in the human body is going to be. So I keep saying, so, it's to do with movement. It's to do with creating a certain amount of momentum through the meridians, which then feeds the organs. It feeds the skin. And we use it on the facial tissues for specific zones so that we put a lot of a lot of moisture into certain areas of the skin and lots of filling of hyaluron, chondroitin sulfate, gel-like substances in the skin. We put the deposits where we want them to be. We direct the flow. So it's all very intrinsically done in that the face maps that are provided and the tuition into the mechanisms of how to use the energy is always something that's going to give practitioners the ability to give people the desired results, which is what we're after. So energy creates energy. So, if you're really tired and you don't feel like going for a walk, if you actually push yourself and go for a walk, you'll have more energy at the end of that walk. And then you actually don't mind going for a walk the next day because energy creates energy and you've got a little bit more energy to start with. Cells are very much reliant upon a certain amount of activity or momentum for energy. So every single time you use the home kit, there's a certain amount of energy. It's at a lower rate, obviously, than the facial treatment, which uses hundreds of thousands. And that is a burst of energy, whereas the home kit is a slow building of energy overnight that accumulates and builds over that time. And at the end of it, you see the results of the home kit. Facial treatment is a huge burst, because there are so many micromagnets sitting on the skin and they all have a relationship with the digestive system. So the points that are used in the facial treatment are always sitting over the gallbladder, the stomach points, the large intestine, the small intestine. So we're always sitting over the facial tissues and aligned with the digestive system. This means that we always work with the gut-brain-skin axis because the relationship between the gut and the brain and skin is undeniable. We already know about it.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. We know that problems with the gut affects our thinking. Eating a lot of sugar affects the way we think, the way we process. Cognition is 100% affected by the microbiome of the gut, the lining of the gut. So all of these things really do come into play when you're using a GBD treatment.
Yeah, I could say it over and over. It's utterly fascinating. And if people aren't fascinated by it, I don't think I could understand them. But it just, to me, the gut, brain, skin axis, the digestive system, the lymphatics, the blood, everything, we're a unit. We are an entire unit. And to have one treatment that literally targets everything, I would almost say, what more do you need?
Yeah.
But in terms of combating the energy loss and the aging, but the rosaceas and the sensitivities, and even you could almost heal your gut then through your skin instead of this combined with other holistic treatments would be undeniably incredible. It would be like a new lease of life for people, really.
Yes, absolutely. And what you've said is just right. What else do you want? It made me laugh because I thought, yes, that's what they often will contact me and say, is it okay for me to use the home kit every night? And that's actually for somebody my age, I use the home kit every night. I might use an upper face treatment one night, lower face the next. So I'm always using it because it's just second nature for me to do that. And the difference is very different. So, the skin is different the next morning. You can see the results. You can see what's happening, which is wonderful because what the whole goal of Chi Beauty was in the very, very beginning was that I wanted to, if I could, reach as many women as I possibly could to draw a relationship between how we look and feel as we age and our chi circulation. And that's something that is integral to the system. And seeking acupuncture treatment, when people are sick or when they're trying to recover from a sickness, some people have conditions that are autoimmune based that, I'm always saying to people, try acupuncture treatment and see if that actually shifts you or moves you out of where you are into a different space, which is what acupuncture tends to do. It actually is the leg up out of wherever you are to a new way of health and vitality. So the home kit actually does that as well because of the effects over the vagal regulation for a start and, the way the mind works.
It's incredible. It's absolutely. I think people just need to try it for themselves to truly understand because, as you said, you can literally see the next morning. You see a difference. And I mean, I'm only 36 myself, but I see a huge difference in my skin on the days that I use it and the days that I don't. And when I am quite religious with using it, and then if I run out of the home kit and I don't use it for a month and I forget about it and then I bring it back in again, there is an immediate, oh yeah, that's right. That is why I was using this. That is why it is part of my routine, because there is such an immediate effect.
That's great.
I mean, what more do you want, honestly?
That's wonderful.
Yes, it is. Honestly, I think I love that the home kit is such a big focus for you and the business as well. I mean, the in-clinic treatments are, like you said, that burst of energy and absolutely delightful. But I think, I mean, we all know that our home care system is 80% of a journey. You can get all the treatments you like in the world, but if you're not doing the right things at home, you're not going to see the results. It's like going to the gym and eating McDonald's every day. It just doesn't work.
Yes.
So I love that the home kit is it's sort of like the heart, the home and the heart of that, and the basis of where it all stemmed from. To me, that is incredibly beautiful. So with the evolving landscape, say, of beauty and wellness and this aging well movement, I suppose I don't really like the term anti-aging, because like we said, it sounds anti, but we're not. It's an aging well and the best version of you. Where do you see the future of non-invasive treatments going? And is there any future for Chi Beauty moving forward with other elements coming into it, and especially in the context of aging gracefully?
Yeah, that's a good question. I see that, I mean, everything's going to be complicated by AI. Let's face it, you have to.
Oh my God.
Point. So I hear a lot about that, obviously, in the media as well. But when it comes to the future of aging, I think that quantum physics is going to come into it quite a lot, because it's just the nature of humans to look to energy and the way we feel. And I think that what I would like to see is a redefining of aging. That would be really nice. I think that we haven't got it quite right yet. We think we're getting there, and sure, we may be, but there are still prejudices about certain things. I don't see that there's anything wrong with having certain lines on the skin and having laxity on the skin as you're aging. I don't think that, people of a certain age, the only thing they have to bring to the table is how they look. Let's not reduce the human race to that. That would just be a sad day. And so I think
it would be so sad.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like women have worked so hard to get to that point where we've reduced us to a face again. We've worked far too hard to get to where we are.
Yeah, I know. And we know that women do feel to hold their own even in the workforce, in industry. Certainly in Australia, I believe it's still quite there, that we feel that we need to be able to compete in a certain way, and how we look has a lot to do with that as well. I'd love us to get to the point where we don't even see it. That's my goal. It's when we don't really see it, when we actually see what you were talking about earlier with the feeling of another person coming into the room, how that person feels, not how that person looks to you, how that person feels to you once. And that's what I meant by quantum energy. And I mean, it probably sounded like I meant the invention of other quantum energy devices. I'm actually talking about the psychology of humans and the emotional respect between humans, and humans feeling a person's emotional aspect over everything else. So you get a good feeling about someone, or you don't. You resonate with somebody, or you don't. All of those things. I think it'd be great if we just didn't see how people look when they walk into the room, and we actually felt how somebody was when they walked into a room. That would be great.
Yes.
I'd like to see that.
Oh my goodness, that would be it would be life-changing.
Yeah, it would be. And I think we're away from that. But Chi Beauty is, we have a massage treatment that's in development. Actually, it's not really in development. You would say that so that it sounds like it's authentic talking to you today. It's actually been around for probably 10 years, but I haven't introduced it formally. The micromagnets are great for massage. Practitioners can use them along certain connections, especially along the bladder channels, along the spinal, on the back, and also the neck and upper thoracic.
Wow.
Lumbars. So At some point, I will be teaching that, but at the moment, I'm not doing that for now. I'm just really busy working on what we're talking about now with changing perceptions to do with aging and offering it perspective. But I must admit, I'm still using before and after photos because I have to, because that's how we see things at the moment. And it's very difficult to communicate how amazing somebody feels at the end of the treatment. You can't communicate that visually. So apart from storytelling, it's the only way to do it is with visual representation. So I would really like to see expansion in aging over contraction in aging, and for us to look at people differently. That would be the end game for me.
I love that. I am with you every single step of the way with that one, because that is, the changing the way you make a person feel and how you feel about yourself it will change the world.
Absolutely.
And I'm with you every step of the way. And I truly think that the things that I've been hearing from after our first chat and reaching out more and doing more of this podcast and getting the platform out there, I truly think that you are going to take that on. I think you will change the world with that. I really do.
Yeah,
it is incredible.
I do actually change the way people feel about themselves now already, but I want that to go beyond them and then out. So I don't know how I'm going to get that there, but I think over time we will. I see myself still doing this when I'm 80.
I think you will.
90, just to get it.
I would say so. But I think changing one person, if you can change that one person, it will slowly change the people around them. Sometimes you may not have access to the other people, but if you change a mother or a father or a daughter or a wife or a husband in themselves, they change the way they interact with the person they're next to, which then changes the way that they it is it's a flow-on effect, which I suppose in itself is a form of chi beauty, really, or chi momentum. It is a flow-on effect. And so I think just changing that one person
at a time,
that in itself that changes somebody else's world. It really does.
Yes.
And I think one person at a time. This is my motto, one person at a time. We're going to change the way they feel. They'll be using sunscreen daily. They're going to change the way they see aging. It's going down a more corneotherapeutic route, and I'm so here for it. I think it's amazing.
Great. I totally agree with all that.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. That was really lovely to chat today. That was great. It's nice to not just talk about the mechanics, which I'm doing all the time, and to talk about the bigger picture with aging and how we feel about ourselves as we age and our goals and,
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. So nice to talk about that. Yeah. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure, because I love skin, and that's where this all started. But again, I don't think people have their best skin if they're not their best selves. And also I've started to, I'm only 36 and I take quite good care of myself, but I can see the changes, but I still want to age well. And I'm going, hang on a second, how do we change this perception? How do we have this conversation? Let's bring it out there. Let's be more aware about it. One person at a time. So thank you so much for joining me on that conversation, because it's enlightening and it's beautiful. And I promise I'm going to come and do the training as soon as I'm back from this job in New Zealand. I'm going to become a chi practitioner myself. Okay. Yes, I cannot wait to do that.
Great. Well, thank you.
But thank you, Kathy.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching this episode of Your Glow Code. If you found something helpful, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the show grow. Don't forget to subscribe for more chats on skincare, the signs of feeling good in your skin, health and wellness. Leave us a comment. We'd love to know your thoughts and what your favourite moment was, and give us a follow on Instagram. See you in the next one.